to do a full reaction to this weekend's Premier League fixtures. Um, obviously, there was a lot of really good games. We discussed a little bit about Arsenal, Liverpool on yesterday's show, but um, but yeah, we'll go through. We already discussed Nottingham Forest to win over Leicester City because that game happened on Friday, and we did our Premier League preview for the weekend's fixtures that Friday later that night. So we talked about that Nottingham Forest game, but obviously big win for Nottingham Forest that have had a really good start to their season, sitting seventh already on 16 points through 9 games. I fully expected this team to be in the midst of a relegation battle. Well, guess what? Through 9 games, they're about halfway out of the relegation battle. So clearly they are not in the relegation battle to begin with. I was completely wrong on them. What um what um what his name is mistaken my mind. The former Wolves manager, he was at Tottenham first. Nuno Espirito Santos. What he's done with this Nottingham Forest team, how efficient that they are, despite how they don't create much going forward, but defensively they're pretty solid and they take advantage of certain moments. They have Chris Woods, that direct nature of him, and who's up there with, in terms of goals. I believe he has 7 goals this season, which is more than which is a little less than 70% of their goals that they've scored this season in the Premier League. They've only scored 11 goals, 4 without Chris Wood. They've been efficient, and I've been impressed with Nottingham Forest, I have to say. Chris Wood has had a really really good season for them. City got the marginal 1-0 victory over Southampton. 1-0 win from Erling Haaland. Once the goal came from Erling Haaland in the 5th minute, we just knew that it was going to be a little bit of a difficulty for Southampton to come back into this game. The quality difference between the two is the difference between the two is pretty vast. I have to say, Rashford, he was on I'm not Rashford, Erling Haaland, he got yet another goal for them. Then City moved to the top of the league now it was a hard fought victory. They had to dig in. They couldn't get that second throughout the game, even though they did a really good job of controlling the game with possession. And when you have the ball, the other team doesn't, and it's hard to get back into the game if you can't get on the ball. And that's really what it came down to. City, they do a good job once they get that goal early, that even if they don't get that second and third goal and see you off, they could still control the ball for 60%, 57% of the game, complete 616 passes, have 92% pass accuracy, and take the air out of the ball. And when you only have the ball 40% of the time, you struggle to create enough clear-cut out opportunities. And Southampton already don't have the quality really to compete with Manchester City. And with this win, City moved back into the top of the league, with Liverpool dropping points to Arsenal. So a good win for Manchester City. And these are the sort of games that you underrate, because they could go the other way, but just the professionalism with City, they always get it done. And the thing also with City is, I talked about how they can be a boring team to watch because how the professionalism it requires to be consistent as City is. It's sometimes it is boring because you take less risks and it's harder to watch and it's robotic, but it gets the results at the end of the day. It's a consistent nature about it, a consistent dominance. And Manchester City, great win for them. Brentford, 4-3 win over Ipswich Town. Winning goal from Brian Mbeumo, who, by the way, Brian Mbeumo, I talked about not Bobby Wood, Chris Wood. And Mbeumo, he's up there as well in terms of goals scored this season. The French midfielder, he has scored, I believe he has 8 goals this season. Yeah, 8 goals in 9 games. And Mbeumo does. Brentford, they're so good at getting these getting these players that can make an impact. This is Mbuemo has 53 goals and 193 appearances now for Brentford. This season he's been really, really good. And Mbuemo, by the way, was a player in his loan season and the senior team at Troyes in the French league. He only had 11 goals in 41 games. And what they've been able to do with it, what they've been able to see with him, Brentford, they just do a good job in terms of being able to identify talents. And we know Brentford, they can be a really good team to watch. They controlled the possession of the game. They created more opportunities. The game was close because I thought Ipswich was comfortable without the ball, and they took advantage of individual moments. But it was a late goal from Brentford. Important win for Brentford again. Ipswich, disappointing loss for them because they were in it. Heartbreak to lose it at the end, because every point does matter, and they're trying to get their first 3 points of the season. But yeah, for Brentford, that's a good 3 points, and now they sit on 13 points in ninth place. Great win for them. Brighton Wolves 2-2. Steady improvement from Wolves, I do have to say. I think Wolves are still conceding goals. And that's an issue. They're still open to play against. They're still conceding in bad ways. And this one was a wild game. Welbeck taking the lead right before halftime. Then it went off in the last. Brighton getting that second through Ferguson, 85th minute. You're thinking, okay, this is game over. Wolves are buried. Another disappointing loss for them. They're on the verge of sitting on 1 point after 9 games. But then you had the miraculous comeback from Wolverhampton late on with Ainori and Matheus Cunha. And the Wolves are hanging on. Wolves are hanging on. They're defensively so easy to play against. They concede way too many goals. Don't let this comeback fool you. They can be in a good spirit because of the comeback, but this is still a team that has a lot of issues to work on. And Gary O'Neill needs to get needs to get back on the training pitch because again, they're just too easy to play against. Way too much space. And for Brighton, that's obviously so heartbreaking to lose in that fashion. It was think about the emotions going through. You get that second goal from Ferguson, you're thinking just game over, and suddenly like that you concede 2 and drop points, and it's big drop points because if they were able to get that win, they're sitting on 18 points level with Arsenal and Villa and 3rd and 4th place. They're level with those teams. Instead, now they're sitting in 6th, and these are you can't drop those sort of games. You can't. But Brighton, honestly, they have exceeded my expectation at least for them entering this season. So, obviously it's there's that part of it, but still, I think Brighton are better than that, better than conceding too late on. Aston Villa 1-1 draw with Bournemouth. Good result from Bournemouth. Going away to Villa, that can be a difficult place to play in, and to get that result. Late goal from Evan Nielsen. Ross Barkley gave Aston Villa the lead, and then Evan Nielsen getting that late goal to equalize for Bournemouth. Taking advantage when the opportunity came for that equalizer. Really, really good point for Bournemouth. For Villa, these sort of games happen. The important thing is to continue to maintain your consistency going forward, and don't let this one bad result lead to another bad result, in which Aston Villa, they've done a good job in preventing a consistency of bad results. Everton 1-1 draw with Fulham. Everton are slowly starting to see themselves out now with 9 points after 9 games. They had a really, really good, really bad start. I believe they lost their first 4 Premier League games or something of that sort. Since then, they've went on to win a few games, get points in others. If you're a team, and I don't know, I didn't expect Everton to really be in a relegation battle at all. But, playing home at Goodison, you expect a win. But getting that equalizer in the manner that you got the equalizer to that late dramatic goal from Beto. By the way, there's been a lot of late goals this weekend as well in the Premier League. Getting that late dramatic goal can be a catalyst to build something forward, especially after the, you know, recent results that Everton have been able to get on. I think they've had a good respond to the really bad start that they've had. West Ham beating United. We already discussed the fallout with Sir Alex Ferguson. I mean, with Eric Ten Hag after the game, he was sacked. Obviously, there's drama regarding that game, with West Ham taking the lead, United equalizing, and then that penalty. But we're not going to go too much in depth of it. The big talking point is Ten Hag gets sacked. So, but for West Ham, that is a good win for them. They're sitting in 13th place and 11th. United sitting on 14th place with 11 points. Yeah, we already talked about Arsenal beating Liverpool. Crystal Palace 1-0 win over Tottenham. Look, wow. I thought Tottenham would, they controlled 67% of the possession of this game, but no cutting edge yet again. I really expected Tottenham to create a lot more opportunities than what they did. I mean, they had 67% of the possession, but they didn't really test Crystal Palace at all. Dean Henderson didn't really get tested as I expected. It was a bad showing at the office, and Tottenham, they solved that issue recently of, the lack of cutting edge. They've had, they've scored 2 and 3 goals for now multiple games now. They had that consistency of being able to get the ball into the back of the net. But in this game, just didn't create enough clear-cut opportunities. I thought they got that final ball wrong many times. I thought they had, they looked with a lack of knowledge on how to break it down. Once they got to the final third, I thought it looked very shaky. Now the front three is not the best front three. You have Ben and Johnson, who's been okay. Solanke, it's a work in process. Mickey Moore coming in, the 17-year-old for Son, who wasn't available, and they just lack that continuity and lack that know-how on how to break that defense. Even though they had a lot of the possession, just didn't create enough. Did not create enough. And yeah, it really comes down with that. Chelsea, they got the win over Newcastle. We'll go a little bit more in depth with this in a later segment. But yeah, big win for Chelsea against Newcastle. Playing some really good football. Chelsea have been in that first half, was dynamic, created some good good opportunities in transition. They're able to, Nicholas Jackson is playing the best football of his career. They're being able to take advantage of space in behind. They have the quality with the players in midfield to play that ball in behind. Cole Palmer, he has been absolutely electric. Great assist, or great ball to play in the first opportunity, and then really good goal to take the lead after Isak's equalizer. Look, I've been really impressed with Chelsea this season, and we'll go more in depth of that on a later segment. So,